Now back to more of Florence and the PD's Best Talk. Good Morning PD on Live 95.
Welcome back to Good Morning PD Live 95 on a Thursday morning, 843-661-0937. Thanks to our good friends at Schofield's. We told you a few moments ago exactly some of the Father's Day specials they've got. If you're a mom, a dad, a kid, it doesn't matter. Go by Schofield's. Support local business. Michael Tubbs, I was talking a second ago about universal basic income. Some of these guys like Howard Schultz and Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, they pondered whether or not universal basic income makes any sense. In essence, philosophically, I don't know how you can be supportive of it. I mean, I get the fact that there are some places in America that there are not financial or economic opportunities, and, you know, I guess everybody looks to the government to address in some way, shape, or form. But the very notion of paying somebody to do nothing, it's un-American. I mean, it makes no sense to me. But Michael Tubbs is the mayor of Stockton, California. Now, leave it to California to do something, you know, in a very progressive and liberal sort of way. Mm-hmm. But he's planning to offer a no-strings guaranteed basic income of $500 a month. Listen to this now. Here's some of the details. It's called the Economic Security Project. I mean, it's really called giving money to people who don't do anything, but they got to come up with a fancy name. Now, it's co-chaired by Facebook co-founder Chris Hughes, who was given $1 million to help fund this trial run. It's really America's first, other than Alaska. Alaska has this oil fund that everybody participates in called the Alaska Permanent Fund. It's where all residents of Alaska, and this has been going on for a good while, receive an annual payment. It's almost like a dividend check from the oil revenues from the Alaska Permanent Fund. We mentioned earlier the Finnish government. They ran a trial that provided about 2,000 unemployed people with payments of close to $600 a month. But America's first foray into this is the Economic Security Project. It's a bunch of rich people, philanthropic in nature, who believe this is eventually where we need to be. I don't know how it works. I don't know how you allow for the government to do that. But here's what their plan is. It's scheduled to take effect in spring of 2019, so about a year from now. A select group of city residents will be provided a monthly stipend as part of an 18-month experiment, once again privately funded by these bunch of rich people. And what they're trying to do is assess how citizens will use the funds. Hughes proposes, and this is the way the Economic Security Project believes the inevitability of universal basic income should play itself out. They propose that the U.S. government provides citizens with a guaranteed monthly income of $500 to all Americans earning under $50,000. If you're an American earning under $50,000, they believe the government should give you an extra $500 a month to do with whatever you choose to do with. Now, that cost about $290 billion in California. California is a big state. It's $290 billion. But here's how they want to pay for it. Listen to this. They want to propose that we tax anybody earning over $250,000 a year at 50%. 50. It's a standard rate. Okay. If you make $300,000, you pay 50%. If you make $250,000, you pay 50%. And all of the excess money goes into this fund that takes care of people who, for whatever reason, some self-inflicted, I would imagine some not. That's very interesting and bizarre to me, that we've got somebody like Chris Hughes who understands entrepreneurship and innovation and work and luck and genius and all these other things that come along with success in the private sector.
Who obviously makes a lot more than $250,000
a lot more
year.
Than $250,000. But I don't know, it's kind of an interesting dynamic. Rev, I've read a lot about this. In fact, I said probably 2 years ago that I think there will be a day that many, many places in America, because I think states will be the laboratories for this policy. Obama said, not Obama, what was his chief aide or one of his chief assistants? He's writing a book. It's a little bit of the reason Maureen Dowd wrote the article she wrote.
Rhodes.
Yeah.
Ben Rhodes.
Ben Rhodes wrote a book, and he says that, we're going to get there. The resistance, and he calls us the resistance because we believe in things like free market and work ethic and, fair trade. I mean, we're the resistance because we got in the way of what they were so sure was about to happen, and that was an evolutionary transformation of this country, that it was going to be fundamentally different since Obama got elected. Well, we've kind of slow-walked that, at least. But I've gone on the record that I believe there will be a day in America, sooner than later, that we have a very legitimate, serious debate about universal basic income. I really believe that. I don't think we'll ever get to where Bernie Sanders wants to get, by free college for everybody, a government job for everybody. I don't think we're that crazy. But I do believe there are enough people crazy enough in this country and liberal and progressive enough in this country to believe it makes sense to give people who lack economic opportunity. Now, I believe in generating your own economic opportunity. I don't believe economic opportunity is manna from heaven. I don't believe there's anybody in this society owed anything by anybody else in relation to income and sustainability. That's your job. That's your responsibility. That goes back to my belief in the individual and the responsibilities of that individual. But I'm becoming less and less effective and influential. There are more and more people that believe that because of, and we can go down the road of globalization, the deindustrialization, the hollowing of American middle class, the robotics and automation and technology, the way they've, just absolutely obliterated, to use one of our favorite words, the job opportunities of many people in many places in America. And as a result of that, we've got all these social problems that really and truly you can backwalk those to the lack of economic opportunity. I've always felt that instead of trying to address the fallacies of globalism, the flaws of shipping all of our jobs overseas, I've always felt instead of doing that, because I believe our elected officials are so beholden to the corporatist and the economic elites. I really believe that. They don't have a choice. They've got to push forward. That's why there's such a fight with tariffs. At the end of the day, if you really look at tariffs, well, we can have a debate, but if you really look at tariffs, the businesses pay a bigger price than the individual. The worker does probably get caught in the crosshairs, but the tariffs are really a penalty toward big business. Well, I've always felt that instead of addressing the fact that Washington has become basically bought and sold by corporatist and economic elites, and the representatives we have in Washington, by and large, do the bidding of the 1%. And this is the Springsteen side in me, and it rears its head every now and then. I've always felt that instead of trying to revisit the fact that most pieces of legislation today are to advantage, the top 200 or 300 corporations in America, not the mom and pops. Now, I'm not talking about the businesses of which I've been associated with all my life. I'm talking about the people that really move the meter, the Goldman Sachses, the Exxons, the Caterpillars, the Fords, the GMs of the world. We know, and if you read about this as much as I do, you know that the majority of legislation is really not made by legislators. It's made by lobbyists who work on behalf of these huge corporations. I've always felt that was too hard to unwind. So the only other alternative, if we do have these pockets in America where there aren't economic opportunity, instead of being honest and sincere with ourselves and admitting that globalization was a political ideology, that it didn't serve the American public well, we'd do what? We'd do what we've become real damn good at. We'd find another handout. We'd find another way to give people something. That seems to be our safe space in American politics today. I'm going to give you something. Things didn't work out for you. You didn't wake up on the right side of the bed. You weren't born on so things, you're owed something. And I've always felt that instead of addressing what I consider to be one of the fundamental flaws in the way we govern, and that is to be governed by the corporatists and the economic elites. We'd always say to the poor person, I'm going to give you something. We're not going to give you a job, because we give you a job, that means the company's bottom line gets, negatively affected. We had to bring these jobs back home, and the American worker wants more money than the China. I mean, are we really cool? I've always wondered this, and I'd love to get your opinion to this, Rev. You're a proud American. Mm-hmm. I'm a proud American. Are we okay with having a trade agreement with a country that we know uses child labor, that we know abuses the average employee? Are we okay with that?
We seem to be.
We absolutely do seem to be. We're engaged in several trade deals with countries all over the world who we know abuse labor. We know that, but we're okay with that. Mm. I mean, we can't not be okay and be in the deal. I mean, we're either in the deal or we're not. But I've always felt, and my contention, and I am adamantly opposed to universal basic income. I mean, that's not the way I was raised. That's not this has nothing with politics. This has right and wrong written all over it. It ain't right to give somebody money for doing nothing that you took from somebody else. I mean, that's a fundamental. I mean, I just don't get how anybody squares that up. Do we need a safety net in government? Of course we do. I think most Americans agree with that. But I've always said the safety net is quickly becoming the safety hammock. So we're going to argue now. We're not going to call it a giveaway. We're going to call it income. Well, to me, income is something you earn. So universal basic income is not universal basic income because the recipient did not earn it. Income is earned, as far as I'm concerned. But I've always felt that that's where we would end up because the other was too hard. The other was too hard. So we're going to find these places that have been hollowed and obliterated because of globalism or automation or technology or robotics or the deindustrialization of the middle. I mean, you know where we're talking about it. It's a lot of the reason Trump got in the White House. But I always felt that instead of having a serious debate about that, we're going to do what government tends to do in modern America, and that is to figure out a way to take more from those who have more and give more to those who have less or little or nothing. And the government shouldn't do that.